I love teaching this stuff. I love supporting mums to figure out a different way to support their neurodiverse children. And one of the ways that I found is really diving into and blending esoteric with the 3D because where there is seen, there is unseen. Where there is black, there is white. Where there's salt, there's pepper. Where there's hot, there's cold. We can go on, but there's always polarity. So to start with, when I was working with my kids with their neurodiversity, of course, I went down the normal route of going to the doctors, speaking to the school, then being referred on to psychologists, and then we went to the psychotherapists and got our diagnoses. So the diagnoses that the boys have is social attachment disorder, anxiety, ADHD, ASD, across the four. So one's got social attachment disorder and ADHD and anxiety. We'll come back to Louis in a minute because that's not how he shows up now, and I'll dive into why. And my youngest is diagnosed with anxiety, ADHD and ASD. So to start with Louis, because I thought I was doing the right thing, and I'm not negating or knocking any parent that medicates, I medicated him for a while. And the main reason I got him diagnosed in the first place was because I didn't want him labelled as the naughty child in the class. I knew that there was something else going on, but I didn't understand or know what, and I wanted him to get the support. So after we'd done all the elimination of hearing and eye testing and things like that, that's when we started to go down the ADHD route. And we did give him medication for that, and I can't remember which one it was. But we did give him medication. I gave him medication. And one of them definitely was Mediconnect. But for me as a mum, obviously you just want to do what's right for your children. You want them to be able to succeed socially. You want them to be able to succeed emotionally. You want them to be able to succeed academically and whatever the rest of their lives look like. So we trialled him on it and he was probably medicated for about a year. And as is very typical with medication, it reduces the appetite. It works for X amount of time. The one he was on ran out around 2-3 o'clock. So I'd always have to make sure he had a big breakfast before I gave him his meds, knowing that he wasn't really going to eat a huge amount at lunch and then just stuff him when he got home from school. And it helped. It did help a little bit with him being able to concentrate and focus, but the downsides were too much for me in that he seemed dumbed out. He seemed detached from his emotions. He seemed detached from us a bit as a family, and it wasn't helping with too much with social interaction. That you're always going to have those kids that find things out, like you have ADHD or whatever, and be spiteful little toads and pick on you for it. So at one point we then decided that actually the school system, not the teachers, they were amazing, the system was not working for him. So in year 6 we removed him from school and home educated him up until year 8. He decided to go back in year 8 just after the Easter, and then COVID hit, and at that point I removed my daughter, who's my eldest, and my middle son from school. By this point I'd had Archie, my youngest one. By this point he'd been diagnosed with ADHD, ASD, anxiety, and I'd already held him back a year at preschool. And he was in school and we were going through the whole trying to get him to do his lessons online, and he was having none of it. So we ended up having a bit of a disagreement with Essex over that, and did what we needed to do so that I was then able to homeschool him at school as well. In amongst all of this time, I really started to reawaken and remember who I am as a mum and who I am as a person. I've always been interested in spirituality. I've always been very interested in things like tarot cards, going for psychic readings, attending evenings that you get at the spiritualist churches and things like that. And then my friend introduced me to essential oils. And it was at that point, actually, that my son said to me, Mum, I don't like being on medication anymore. I want to come off it. I feel like I'm watching my life through a TV screen. And I was like, okay, cool. We're off. We're done here. So we started using essential oils. And the essential oils that I used for him mainly to support him with his learning at home was vetiver for grounding, lemon for focus, cedarwood to help support that feel of community and to keep him in his body and out of his head, to keep him grounded rather than going off with his ADHD thought processes. Not that we didn't celebrate those. I love how all of my kids think so outside of the box. I mean, they are enlightening on their own with how they view the world, how they think about the world, their points of view, their visions and everything. But to bring that down into working and supporting him with his education, I needed to support all of that coming down in. We used essential oils like lavender and again cedarwood to help support sleep, because a lot of these children are in constant fight flight. They are very aware that they're different. They're very aware that they think differently, that they act differently. Girls more so than boys, hence the masking. So I needed to bring them out of fight and flight and bring them back into rest and digest. No body is going to make melatonin when it's flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. So we needed to figure out a way to bring that rest digest, to bring those chemicals, hormones down so that they were able to sleep. So those are the main ones that we consistently used. I mean, obviously I've got hundreds of essential oils, and the children will now dive into them and have done for many years, instead of going to a medicine cabinet for whatever it is that they need. So for instance, if my daughter or I have our time of our month, we will go and get clary sage or clary calm, or we'll get deep blue, and we will use essential oils like wintergreen and things like that to help support uncomfortableness and discomfort. And if that doesn't work, then maybe we might get a paracetamol, but it's not our go-to. Our go-to are the oils. So here is how I blended all of this to help my children. So once I restarted diving back down into my own journey, and I started to heal myself, understand my past trauma, understand my past decisions, understand my core limiting beliefs, understand why my brain thinks the way that it does, why I implemented things that I did, to a certain degree, sometimes not even that I necessarily agreed with them, but because they were known, and understood all of that and started picking that apart, I basically stopped projecting all over my children. And that doesn't mean that I don't do it now. You know, human beings are onions. There's forever a new layer that we are shifting and growing and removing. But by understanding my past decisions, my behaviours, my trauma, my thought processes, all of these things that are going on in the 95% of the subconscious mind in the back of the brain that's going safe, not safe, safe, not safe, and changing my neuro pathways, changing the way I think, changing the way I believe, implementing things like bringing in human design and understanding my children's human design and understanding from there how they work. Like myself, my daughter and my oldest son, the three of us are projectors. So we're not going to get out of bed like Duracell bunnies in the morning. We're going to need that more gentle getting up, having time, having that cup of tea, awakening, sort of coming around. Whereas my youngest is a manifesting generator and my husband's a generator. Like these two can get up and hit the ground running and go, 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 go. So now I can cater for both sides of these things and cater for each child individually. I've never shut them down anyway. My daughter's very psychic, has always worked with spirit, but never shutting that down. Always being open to hearing what she has to say. She remembers a lot of past lives, and incorporating that into who she is and how she functions in the world with these additional gifts. Understanding that as the planet's ascension is ascending and we are going up, we are going into that higher vibration, it's no